If people feel like they can have their dream, if people feel like they can have their goal, if people feel like they can get the results, they're not going to go anywhere. But if people start to doubt whether or not they can hit the goal or have that dream or get the results, well, guess what? They're going to slowly disappear. Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Matthew Welsh, and welcome to the Leaders Only podcast, where we talk about business, leadership, mindset, and it's pretty much anything revolved around building an incredible life. You know, the reason that I started this podcast is because I felt like on the way to where we're at now, there wasn't really a place to go learn tangible skill sets, leadership qualities, and mindset strategies that you can learn today, apply today, and get immediate results. And so the goal of this podcast is to teach you the things that you need to actually win, to actually change your life, and to actually grow your business and grow your team if you're someone that's in a leadership role. And so if you can do me a favor, if you ever get something out of our message, if you ever get something out of the content, if you can like, share, subscribe, just tell people about it. We put out all this information for free. And so all we ask is that you share it with a friend if you get something out of it. So with that being said, thank you guys so much, and let's tune in.
Let's go. I'm a big mood. You can't name a lot of things that I didn't.
Today, we're going to be talking about something that can save your business so much time, so much effort, so much energy, and so much turnaround, which is understanding why your people quit, why people leave you, why they do not stay in business with you long term. And I know on another episode, we talked about the 4 R's of retention, but today we're going to be talking about why people leave you, so that way we can take proactive measures to keep that from happening. And so the first reason people leave you is because they do not feel like they can do it. They don't feel like they can do it. They don't feel like they have the skill set. They don't feel like they have the competence. They don't feel like they have the support. They don't feel like they have the opportunity, whatever it might be. People quit because they don't feel like they can do it. And so as someone who's leading a business and or leading an organization, whenever a new person comes into your business, the first thing that you need to be thinking is, how do I emerge this person into the environment so that way they have competence, and so that way they have confidence, and so that way they can start to believe that they can do it, that they can win, that they can make this thing happen. And so a couple things that I would do to really intentionally make them feel like they can do it. Number one is I would control the narrative up front. Until somebody is good enough to do something all on their own, I'm going to control the narrative to help them do it, to make sure that the job gets done, versus giving them a task that they don't have the competence and or the confidence to go complete. So I'm going to be very involved. Another part of it is you sitting down and spending the time equipping them with everything that they need. So for instance, if there's a sales script that they need to learn, or an illustration software, or a certain presentation, or how to operate certain machinery, whatever it might be for whatever business it might be, sit there and truly make sure that they understand not only what to do, not only why to do it, but how to do it, to the point that you practice until they can't get it wrong. Most people practice until they get something right, but professionals and the elite practice until they cannot get it wrong. And so what I'll do is I'll literally sit there with somebody and I'll say, okay, this is what you do. So you do it. Okay, perfect. Now you got that down. Now you do this next step. 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 Okay, now I want you to try to do it on your own. Okay, let's try to do it on our own one more time. Now let's do it on our own one more time. Now let's spin you around in a circle, right? So that way you're dizzy, and try to do it again. Like, I want them to have all the confidence in the world because they've done it so many times that they can't forget it. Let's say it's on the sales side, right? I want you to repeat after me. Repeat after me, you go. Repeat after me, you go. Repeat after me, you go. And we're gonna role play back and forth until they're bulletproof. And I'm gonna try to throw objections and curveballs, and I'm gonna throw everything at them until I know that it is truly and fully engraved into them, to the point that they cannot fail and that they'll get a result every single time. People who are confident and people who are competent take action. People who take action get results. People who doubt their abilities don't take action. And if they try to take action while doubting their abilities, most likely they're going to flop and land right on their face. So as a leader, the moment somebody comes into your organization, you need to be thinking to yourself, how do I make sure that they feel like they can do it? Because if people feel like they can have their dream, if people feel like they can have their goal, if people feel like they can get the results, they're not going to go anywhere. But if people start to doubt whether or not they can hit the goal or have that dream or get the results, well, guess what? They're going to slowly disappear. The second reason why people quit is that they don't feel like they belong. So number one is they don't feel like they can do it. But number two is they don't feel like they belong. Maybe they feel like they're an outcast. Maybe they don't feel like they've been welcomed properly. Maybe they feel like they're just kind of sitting on the outskirts and they're not fully immersed and fully involved, or that nobody cares whether or not they're fully immersed and fully involved. Let me ask you a question. Would you stay at a party that you didn't feel welcome at? Would you stay at a party if you felt like people didn't care whether or not you were there? Or would you want to be at that party if people were glad to have you? Would you want to be at that dinner party if people went out of their way to make sure that you felt seen and that you felt a part of that conversation and that you weren't just standing on the outskirts? Have you ever been in a conversation where there's a conversation going on and you're just kind of standing there, but you don't feel like you're involved in the conversation? So you just slowly and awkwardly disappear? Has that ever happened to you? It's happened to me. And guess what? It's not very welcoming. It doesn't make me want to stay in that conversation. Well, it's the same thing in your business. If somebody doesn't feel like they belong because you intentionally went out of your way to make them feel like they belong by introducing them to people who might come from similar walks of life, or introducing them to other people so that way they don't feel like they're alone and that they always know someone that they can go up to and talk to, or whatever it might be. Right? So I'll give you an example. We were in Florida last week, and as I was in Orlando, Florida, helping with the grand opening, there was a brand new agent that came into our organization. And I knew that I was not going to have the opportunity to spend all the time with them and make them feel comfortable. So what I did is I walked them and I introduced them to a whole bunch of different people. I said, hey, this is this person, this is this person, this is this person, this is this person, this is this person. And I was trying to introduce them to as many people as possible so they no longer felt like they were on an island and all by themselves. Right? And then what I did is I let all the people know that I introduced them to. I said, hey, listen, I'm going to be super busy and tied up with this event. I don't want this person to feel like an outcast. I want them to feel like they're a part of our family, because they are. Can you do me a favor? Can you go out of their way to make sure that they're taken care of and that they always have someone to talk to, or always have a seat at the table, or always have someone to hang out with? Can you do that for me? And they go, absolutely. So I intentionally went out of my way to make sure that they felt like they belonged, versus just kind of saying, oh, they'll figure it out. They'll make a friend. They'll make a connection. I didn't rely on that. I intentionally made it happen. So there's a couple things that you can do to make sure people feel like they belong. Number one is get them introduced to others. I mentioned that. Number two is get them results quickly so you can recognize them. So going back to number one, which is people don't feel like they can do it. Well, if I get you results, you feel like you can do it. And if I recognize you in front of everyone, well, then what's going to happen is everyone's now going to know your name and everyone's now going to see you. And when you feel like people know you, then you feel more like you belong than if you feel like nobody knows you at all. So that's number two. Number three, create graduating classes of people in your business. So for instance, in our organization, we have people who are non-licensed. We have people who are licensed, but not net licenses, which is somebody who's profitable. We have people who are profitable, but they're not independent. And then we have people who are independent, but they're not leading the organization. And so what we always try to do is create classes. We have our non-licensed group of people that are all working together to get licensed. Then we have our licensed group of people who are all working to become profitable. Then we have a profitable group of people who are working to become independent. And then we have our group of people that's working to become independent. And then we have a group of people that is independent. And then we have the group of people who are leaders that are leading everyone else. So we create graduating classes so people always feel like they have a community to be a part of. Number four, build a strong personal connection and relationship with them. Go out of your way to build a personalized relationship. Go out of your way to build a strong connection. Go out of your way to find something in common that you guys can relate on. Right? Maybe go on double dates, whatever it might be. Just go out of your way to find a connection. It could be over sports. It could be over, where you grew up. It could be over your, ethnicity or religious preferences. It could be over the food you like. There's so many different things that you can find a connection on, but find that personal connection where you can find bonding, because then they're like, you know what? This person's exactly like me and they're doing this, so I can do it too. So there's this doubt that goes away when they feel like that connection is there. And then last but not least, allow them to introduce themselves. So whenever you do hold an event, give them the opportunity to introduce themselves. So that way, if people don't know them, now people get to know them. And now if all of a sudden Joe gets up and says, hey, my name's Joe, this is my background, this is where I've been, I'm so excited to be with the company, whatever it might be. Now everyone's going to walk up to Joe afterwards and be like, hey, Joe, that's your background? Awesome. No way, that was my background as well. Or, hey, Joe, that's your background. My brother does that. And now all of a sudden relationships and friendships start to get formed. So number one is they don't feel like they can do it, and that's why they quit. Number two is they don't feel like they belong, and that's why they quit. And I just gave you some things that you can do to make them feel like they belong, right? And then last but not least, number three, it's because they have an unskilled and or untalented or a bad trainer, someone that's training them that is not good. And so what happens is if I'm a trainer that's not good, and I'm bad at this, and my job or my role is to train and develop people to become successful in this business. And if that's my role and I'm not good at it, now all of a sudden, guess what's gonna happen? You're not gonna feel like you can do it. Guess what's also gonna happen? You're not gonna feel like you belong because I didn't do my part as a leader and or a trainer. And so you gotta be constantly looking at your leadership team and say, okay, is this person equipped enough and skilled enough to be able to do things all on their own? Or should I be providing overlapping leadership for every new person that they bring into the organization to make sure that those new people are taken care of and tended to? And so we got to audit our business, look at who's actually good and who's not. Anyone who's not as legit as they need to be, provide that overlapping leadership so that way they always have a point of contact outside of just that trainer because they have you as well. So hopefully today helped. Hopefully you got a lot out of it. I went over different things that causes people to quit. And if we can understand it, we can be proactive and keep it from happening. So if you got something out of today's message, like you guys know, we put out all this content for free. All we ask is that if you ever get something out of it, you tell a friend, you talk about it, you promote it, you post it, you like, you subscribe. Just tell somebody about it and it would mean the absolute world to us. So thank you guys so much. And we'll see you guys next week on the Leaders Only podcast.
Let's get it.